All right, it is top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join me on this Tridium Talk. We'll be about around 30 minutes, may go a little bit longer. I want to leave a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A. Today, we're going to be talking about our latest release of Niagara 4.9. My name is Brent Lowe. I'm a Senior Product Manager here at Tridium. And I've been working here about 3 years and working on the core, edge, the hardware side, kind of the whole 9 yards. So we'll dive right in. This presentation is intended to be a high-level overview of Niagara 4.9. As we walk through this presentation, you're going to see some links and some guidance of where you can go find some more information. And I know one of the key questions that always comes out of these Tridium talks and presentations is, will we be able to get access to this presentation afterwards? And the answer there is absolutely yes. We will post this on our website so that you can take the actual presentation and click on those links that I point you to here. So we also plan to do some further deep dives with some other Tridium talks into some of the Niagara 4.9 features. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. If I can get it to change. There we go. So when we talk about the Niagara framework, there's a number of, I guess, quote unquote, key tenets that we like to focus on. And that's how we build out our releases and kind of put things into buckets as far as features. And so this is a summary slide I like to use when going over the roadmap, going over what we've been working on. It really just provides a summary of the main areas that we focus in, which is visualization, deployment, speed to deployment, security, of course, keeping your building secure, connectivity, which is really, that's what Niagara is all about, and then certification and compliance. So let's talk through some of these things that we've done in these areas with 4.9. So first off, video surveillance. I guess, especially in this era of COVID, video analytics, video cameras are advancing rapidly. You can detect occupancy in a room, you can detect motion, you can tell someone's temperature as they walk into a building with video. And so we have been working recently, and we will continue to work as we build out the roadmap on the integration of video surveillance into the actual framework itself. So basically, what we've done in 4.9 is we brought over our video framework from another product that we have, Enterprise Security, and we've converted all of the old applet views into HTML5 and made them available in the actual core framework. So what this will allow you to do is stream live or recorded video feeds. But a really cool feature, I think, is the ability to integrate video with the alarm console. So you detect motion or occupancy in a room, that could set off an alarm, and then you can see that actual video that was taken at that point. You can configure it to go to a pan, tilt, zoom preset when that happens. So a lot of really cool applications that you can do with video. And as we see video progressing, we want to bring that into the framework because that's yet another thing that you can integrate with Niagara and the rest of your building to build out a complete system. So our supported integrations at this point from an NVR perspective are the Milestone, XProtect, and Access Camera for that live viewing capability. Moving on, enabling critical control of field equipment. So we released the Edge 10 back in 4.7, that was 2018. And as part of that release, we allowed for the integration of one of our IOR modules, the IOR 34, a single one. Well, we've changed the licensing a little bit. You don't necessarily have to have 4.9 to make this happen, but now you can integrate up to 2 IOR 34s. All you have to do is refresh your license on the Edge 10, and then you're up and running, and you can integrate 2 IOR 34s. Additionally, we've done some integration work between the Edge 10 and the IORs with our ACE feature. So ACE was released in 4.8, and ACE is a feature that allows for deterministic control over your algorithms running on an Edge 10. So this becomes really important at the edge because it's all about startup time to control. You reboot a JACE, you reboot an Edge 10, and that station takes 5-10 minutes to start up. That doesn't become acceptable when we're talking about edge type applications. So this deterministic runtime engine will allow you to reboot an Edge 10, station startup. and it comes back up and it's allowing you to control that IO either on board the Edge 10 or on the IOR 34 within seconds. About 10 to 12 seconds is what we've been able to accomplish internally. One of those resources I was mentioning below, you can check out Tridium University module on how you can utilize ACE and the IOR 34s, how you set that up in Workbench, and what that configuration looks like. Continuing with the ACE trend, as mentioned, we released ACE just for the Edge 10 back in 4.8. We've made some improvements in 4.9 to integrate that IOR. In 4.9, we are also making ACE available to our portability partners. So there are a number of partners that we have out there that are running Niagara on their hardware. So hardware that's not been manufactured by Tridium proper. And we want to give them the ability to have this determinism at the edge on their side. And so in 4.9, we are releasing that as early access to those partners. And then in 4.10, that will be released as general availability. So as we move towards 4.10, look for announcements from your favorite Niagara controllers out there as they start to roll out ACE and you start to see the benefits of that determinism on the edge. Enhanced graphics with tag-based visualization. This is a very interesting feature, and it's all about saving time and money in setting up your graphics. What we hear about and what we see in the field in a lot of cases is the duplication of effort in creating graphics and then on one station and then creating the same or very similar set of graphics on another station. And it's tough to be able to move those graphics from one station to another based on how those stations are actually set up and configured. Well, this is a feature that allows you to utilize our tagging mechanism to associate tags with graphics on a station, and then essentially lift those graphics, put them on another station that has the same tags, and regardless of the org structure in that second station, all of the graphics will still display the correct data, et cetera. So this is a very exciting use of tagging. We hear a lot about, I don't really get the value of tagging. It takes a lot of effort to set up. This is a great use case for why tagging is so important, that you can really save yourself a lot of time, a lot of effort as you are setting up systems and commissioning new systems that are out there. One of our product managers, Stephen Holicky, has created two really great resources here. One, we have a TridiumTalk that we did a couple months ago on this particular feature that you can go out and check out the recording at your leisure. And then we also have a Tridium University module as well that walks you through the setup and configuration of this particular feature. So definitely check those out. Single sign-on. In Niagara 4.4, we introduced single sign-on with an external, quote unquote, external identity provider. And what that means is in order to use single sign-on, you have to work with an IT department, a third party within the business, et cetera, to actually allow for that instance of Niagara to connect to that identity provider and verify or authenticate the credentials. This works out quite well in large organizations that have mature IT departments and organizations where the OT teams and the IT teams are working well together. But it kind of falls apart in some of the smaller self-contained implementations of Niagara that may be out there. And what we've done here is really help reduce the reliance on having to have that IT support infrastructure and still allow you to get all the benefits of single sign-on by allowing Niagara to act as that identity provider. So now you can set up a station in your Niagara network to say, hey, I am the identity provider for this set of Niagara stations. You can use me to authenticate users so that you can have that single sign-on capability. I think a really great example of where this comes in handy is, if you recall, in 4.8, we released a security dashboard. And the security dashboard can work at multiple different levels. So at the supervisor level, we can take a look at our entire Niagara network and see all the stations and get a high-level overview of what the security posture of those stations are. As part of that dashboard, you can click into those stations and get more detail. Well, if you do that without single sign-on, as you click into each one of those stations, you have to go through the process of authenticating yourself. So entering your username, password, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it's not the end of the world. People do it every day, but it becomes a bear as you navigate through different Niagara systems. And this functionality will allow you to set all that up locally within Niagara. Again, yet another Tridium University module that's out there. I'll give you the navigation path a little bit later. Another great kind of recording of, hey, how do I set this up? How does it work? Give me an example and the value props. So definitely use these resources to get a good understanding of these new features that we're doing and how you can apply them to your installations. Enabling cloud connectivity. So like I mentioned before, Niagara is all about connectivity, right? In this case, we've made in 4.9 some feature updates to our MQTT driver, and we're also pushing our new JSON toolkit with 4.9. So MQTT and JSON have really become the IoT standard out there for connecting systems that are in the cloud or even locally to local databases, whatever that might be. Those have really kind of emerged as the front runners there. MQTT is the transport mechanism, so how you actually communicate with that third-party system, and JSON is what builds the payload or is the payload of information that you want to send to that third party. And so these are two very powerful features when coupled together. So you not only have that ability to talk to that third party, but now you know how to send them messages that they're going to understand. And so the JSON toolkit is a really nice feature that allows you to basically take station data, package it up in that specific format that JSON requires, and then shoot that out, or even bring data in and translate that from JSON back down into your station data. So highly recommend that you check that out. I should have put, my apologies, I should have put a link on this slide. I'll do that before we make it available to everyone. There is actually a course on JSON as well, the JSON toolkit in Tridium University. So I think what you'll see is one of the things that we're trying to do with new releases is provide videos, provide more resources for folks to you know, really deep dive into those features at their own time and when they can do that. So. Facilitating Niagara at the edge. This is one of those things that's near and dear to my heart. I've been working on these particular projects since I've been here at Tridium. But we have, I guess the theme here is the edge tools. And what edge tools is all about is facilitating the quick and easy commissioning, configuring, and just general setting up of multiple Niagara based devices on your network. So when you think about traditional JACE and supervisor type installations versus this new norm of IP-based Niagara devices that are out there, you probably in the past have had, you know, 5, 6 Niagara stations, you know, in various forms of JACEs and supervisors running on your, running in a building. Well, as Niagara continues to move towards the edge, you're going to have hundreds of Niagara stations. And so the time to set that up, the time to get things like certificates installed on all those things becomes a real hassle with the way that Niagara has been configured in the past. And so these edge tools are all about making that easier. And so we have progressively, since 4.6 and 4.7, been improving, introducing and then improving these tools. And so the latest updates include changes to our application templates. So the ability to create an application once and then lift that and push it onto other devices that are running the exact same application, but maybe have a different configuration. And then also our provisioning tools, the ability to take from a supervisor level and push down a set of instructions to any number of Niagara devices to do something. So as an example of that, you can kind of see that with provisioning, we've really beefed up that functionality. If you're not familiar with provisioning, it is something that's been in the product for quite some time, actually. And as of 4.4, there was 9 provisioning steps available. As we progressed, each one of these boxes, I'm not going to go through each one, but it's just more of a visualization of how we've progressed over time, is we've added these on top of those 9, on top of those 20, et cetera, to get up to about 30 different steps. And really, this is all about saving you time. This is about making it easier to manage large Niagara networks. And I have a link here. James Johnson did a Tridium talk on provisioning probably a month or 2 ago at this point. So he definitely check that out. Again, I'll show you where these resources are at the end. IT operations support. So this is one of those features that, you know, we've recognized and we'll fully admit that we should have had this a while back. Essentially, if you've had a Jace that is sitting behind a corporate firewall, chances are that in order to get access to the internet, or we really hope that you're behind the firewall, you should be, in order to get access to the internet, it probably had to go through an IT proxy server. Well, in previous versions of Niagara, we have not had the capability of pushing out through proxy servers via HTTPS. And so this is a very limiting factor, right? Because any communication these days that goes out should be HTTPS related as you make REST calls, as you make calls to the weather, whatever that might be. So what we've done is we've updated our proxy server to allow for that HTTPS protocol to push through so that you can get out to the internet. So again, one of those small changes that's probably been a long time coming, but we got it into this release, and appreciate your patience there. Understanding access to Niagara. So improving our security discussion. We've always had an audit history log where a lot of information goes into, such as authentication events, things that are happening in the system, connectivity errors, whatever that might be. All this information gets pushed into the audit log. Well, we've had some discussions recently with customers say, hey, that's great. We're glad that this information is being kept, but I'm getting a lot of noise in my audit log. Can we move some of the security events into its own log so I have a very specific place to put that information or go find that information? So in 4.9, again, I think this is one of those small changes that has a big impact. We've given you the ability to have this security history log. It's on by default and it will just start working. But essentially all of the security history information, all that security audit information will end up going into this log now. It still goes into the audit history log as well, but now you don't have to sift through all that noise to go find an authentication event or something along those lines. So coupled with that Niagara, with that security dashboard in 4.8, this really gives you, or you gives your IT staff, your security professionals a really powerful tool to take a look at how your system is provisioned. Is it provisioned securely? Is it set up securely? And if there are any issues, a place to go look for that information, a dedicated spot to go look for that information where you don't have to sift through a lot of other stuff. Another security feature, in 4.8, we rolled out a new concept called third-party module signing. And third-party module signing is something that we will be rolling out over time. And we've taken it in 4.9 to the next step. So there are 3 different verification modes for third-party module signing. And what this is all about is essentially if you are using third-party jars, third-party functionality on your Niagara systems, we want to make sure that you are protected from bad actors, potentially changing that information, doing things that you don't know underneath the covers. And so in 4.8, we set the verification mode to low, which was pretty much unchanged functionality, but it gave you a warning to say, hey, something has changed here. This module is unsigned or it's untrusted. It has an expiration. The certificate has expired. You should probably know about this. In 4.9, we're taking that a step further. We're upping the verification mode to medium, which means that any module needs to be signed by a valid certificate. And that certificate can be self-signed. It doesn't have to be issued by a certificate authority. So this is important to know as you upgrade to 4.9. Do you have third-party modules? And are they signed? If they're not, we highly encourage you to get with the developer of those third-party modules, in order to get them signed. There are ways for you to sign them yourself, but we really encourage you to make sure that the developer is doing that. If you trust it, you know it, then it's okay to sign it yourself. But the developers should be signing their third-party modules. It's part of the way that the tools that we give our developers. And but we know that as people move to 4.9, we'll probably run into some hiccups here. We don't have definitive plans to say we're going to move to high in 4.10. I think we should probably marinate a little bit here at 4.9 to get the developer community up to speed with what is necessary. But no major decisions have been made there at this point. We've updated our infrastructure. So what does that mean? So we support with Niagara a number of different operating systems, a number of different browsers, databases, mobile type browsers, et cetera. And so we have to kind of keep pace with what vendors are releasing. And we also have to keep pace with what vendors are deprecating. And so that does have an impact on the community. So this particular slide has two sides to it. One, on the left-hand side, what we are supporting in 4.9 and moving forward as far as operating systems, browsers, and databases. Anything that's in bold are new additions. Anything that is not in bold are things that have been supported at least as of 4.8 and continue to be supported in 4.9. On the right-hand side are things that we are deprecating support for in 4.9. So these are operating systems, browsers, and databases that aren't being maintained by their manufacturers anymore. So we cannot continue to spend the testing resources there to validate that the product works on those particular set of applications. So we're moving forward as vendors are moving forward and ensuring that we're transferring that testing time from old operating systems, et cetera, to the latest and greatest so that you guys can move forward from an IT perspective. One thing that you will note is that we have dropped support for 32-bit across the board. So none of these operating systems on the left-hand side support 32-bit. So that means any Niagara, if you're upgrading a Niagara system, keep this slide in mind. I'll show you some other resources out at the in the knowledge base as well that you can reference near the end of this presentation. But you may be running Niagara on an old Windows 2012 server that we no longer support. So be aware of that as you upgrade to 4.9. So some updated resources that I've been talking about throughout this presentation. We have updated Tridium University. So there is now a course called 4.9 feature update tutorials. I've kind of given you a link to some of those during this presentation. Definitely check that out. It's kind of a self-service. It's free. You can go out there and check out recordings about utilizing Edge 10, IOR 34s, and ACE. You can check out things based on tag-based PX bindings, which is that way to associate graphics with tags, and then single sign-on. We also have a course on the JSON toolkit that I would highly recommend that you take a look at as well to get an understanding of how that works. And really, you just go out to Tridium University and search for 4.9 or search for JSON, and these courses will pop up, and you can just go ahead and run through them. We have Tridium Talks that we've been working on throughout the years. A couple key ones that I mentioned during this presentation is James Johnson's leveraging provisioning in an enterprise Niagara system. So using a lot of those provisioning steps that I showed earlier, showing some really great use cases there of updating certificates on all the edge devices, that type of thing. Updating a password across a number of JSONs. And then we also have the Tridium Talk on enhanced graphics with tag-based visualizations. In order to get to these Tridium Talks, including this one, once we post it, if you go to our website, down here at the bottom, this little graphic here, the banner across the top, you go to resources and then events. And then on that page that pops up, you will find a listing of all the Tridium Talks over the years. So if you're not familiar with that, you'll be able to find this presentation as well as these other presentations out there as well. In the Niagara community, if you just go in there and log in and search for 4.9, you're going to find some 4.9 specific articles. There's an article on upgrade considerations. So we talk a lot there about operating systems. We talk about the third-party module signing in there. So just something to consider as you upgrade to 4.9. Make sure you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed there. The release notes are out there. I go through all of the defects that we fixed with 4.9. Any breaking changes. So for developers, these are always important things, important knowledge-based articles to check out. If we have breaking changes within a specific release, we try to publish, well, we do publish those to ensure that if we've maybe deprecated an API, something along those lines, that you are aware of that, and if you're using it, you can pivot appropriately. And then there's another article out here called Niagara 4.9 and IT network scanners. We've been getting a lot of feedback recently about the ability for Niagara stations running on JACEs and Edge 10s to be able to withstand network scanning utilities that IT departments usually deploy. So popular ones here are Qualys, Nessus, systems like that. And so while we have no control over when and how those network scanners are run, we have been hearing reports that the JACE has not been able to withstand I guess a denial of service attack from these guys. And so in 4.9, we have made some pretty significant changes that should help along those lines. This article explains how Niagara will behave when it believes it has encountered one of these network scanners. So I recommend that you take a look at that if that's something that you have been running into. That's something that we've been working on along with 4.9. And would love to have your feedback on that as you start to roll out 4.9. There's a whole new pro tips series out there. I don't know if you're aware of it, but in this lockdown, some of our superstars, James Johnson and Kevin Mamajek, have been imparting some of their wisdom for the Niagara community in what we're calling these Niagara pro tips. And so these are 10 to 15 minute video sessions, very well produced, where they will go over topics like NeQual or analytics. And so you can find that on our YouTube channel. There's probably about 10 or 15 out there right now. Really just a great way to go self-service and get yourself some information on Niagara and a way to learn more about Niagara as well. So this is coming from the best, right? You got James Johnson and Kevin helping you out here. So definitely take advantage of that. So I would be remiss if I don't talk about AX deprecation. So, we are on a path, and we've had a Tridium talk on this, that's down at the bottom of, end of support for AX. And as part of that, we have an AX to N4 trade-up program for any legacy AX hardware that's out there. So we want to get you onto the latest and greatest hardware. There's a 20% discount when replacing that legacy AX hardware. And if you happen to purchase that hardware after January 1st, so it's a more recent investment, we're going to give you another 10% on top of that 20. So definitely, please, if you're running AX, consider moving to N4. It's time, and we will be over the next couple years getting to the point where we're not going to be selling AX anymore. These legacy devices have not been sold since 2018. So definitely take a look at the link there as far as everything that you need to know about AX end of life. And then we also have the Tridium talk that earlier this year we went through as well. Laura and Rob did that one. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. We're right at time. We'll take a few questions, and then I appreciate you guys logging in. Let's definitely, if you have feedback, shoot it our way. We will post this information, and have a great day if we don't talk to you. So let me open up the Q&A window and let's see. what we have here. So Edge 10 refresh for two IOR 34 modules. Is it free? Yes, it is just simply an update to your Edge 10 license. It will work on 4.7, 4.8, and 4.9. So go in, refresh your Edge 10 license, and you will then have the ability to use IOR, two IOR 34. Does tag-based graphics utilize Niagara tagging, haystack, or both? All of the above. So it's all just about tagging, whether you use a custom tagging library that you've come up with, you use our standard Niagara tags or haystack, those will all work there. Let's see. And if I don't get to your question on this, we're going to take these questions offline. We'll answer them and then post them along with the actual presentation. Any intention to port the HTTPS proxy to earlier Niagara versions? Not at this moment. No, there are no plans to do that. Are there plans to support other Red Hat offshoots such as CentOS? You know, we are looking. There's been some activity lately on the community regarding different Linux operating systems, and so that is something that we are considering. I would encourage you to go to Niagara community, and there is a thread out there. I would love to hear any feedback that you might have as far as operating systems from a Linux perspective that you're interested in us supporting, so that we can, it will help us make some decisions. Let's see here. I recall that when accessing via browser, there's a link for Niagara Web Start or Java Web Start. Is it preferred to log in via browser or Niagara Web Start? Well, so here's the deal. So there is certain functionality within Niagara that we have not ported over to HTML5. We would prefer that everything be ported over to HTML5 and not use any of the Java applet capability. We're just not there yet. And you know, we have ported over what we believe are the major user views, but there are some admin views left still out there. So today, it really depends on what you want to accomplish. Are you trying to access something that does not have that HTML5 view? Then you need to use Web Launcher. If you are accessing something that does have the HTML5 view, which we believe is the majority of user views that are out there, then yeah, just log in via a regular web browser. What about using LAN USB adapter with Niagara and only being able to install 64-bit? Great question. That is something that we have addressed. We knew that would be an issue as we took away 32-bit. So we have updated the core to be able to support that engineering type work from a supervisor running on 64-bit versus 32-bit. So that's that echelon USB adapter type functionality. So let's see, a few questions on that. Good. I'm just looking through here. Is the JSON toolkit standard or optional cost? There is a cost for this driver. And then there is ongoing maintenance for this driver. So as long as you keep your SMA current, it will continue to work. So it's tied to your SMA as well. All right, I'll answer a couple more. We'll just go 5 minutes over. Appreciate your time. Let's see here. Scott, I love it. Free versus included. Total, how many points are allowed in the Edge 10? 50 total points, but the IOR and the onboard points do not count. Let's see. All kinds of great questions here. We will definitely post these and get this out there. Is there any, okay, last question. Is there any support for BACnet SC? This is something that we are working on and is in our roadmap and is I could probably guarantee you there's someone upstairs, or I probably at their houses at this point, because don't come in the office right now, but actively working on this. So it is actively being worked on. Look for it in a future release as we get that wrapped up. So, okay, well, we will go through these questions. We will answer them in a Word document or PDF and post that along with this presentation. Really appreciate your guys' time. I really appreciate all these questions. Thank you very much for attending, and hope to talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.